Yeah, I think my music has always focused on social issues to some extent, even if it was more covert. Like there's, I think most of them have feminism, feminist themes in them. They have themes of resilience and like mental health issues and all kinds of stuff are playing out, and it's more of a like social commentary, maybe not quite as political, but there's also like gay love songs and all these other things. So I think there's always been it's always been there, but I've also been very delicate with it in the past, and using lots of allegory and metaphors, and because I want people to take from it something that relates directly to them. So that was something that I was really intentional about, of like, I'm saying these things, but I want to leave room for people to personalize them. And this project is definitely different in that I'm being much more direct than I've been before. Yeah.
That's interesting, because I think that actually connects really nicely to what we were just talking about, in that, and it's unfortunate to say this, but like just the act of singing, like you said, a gay love song, in much the same way that, just the act of like being LGBTQ and being out like in and of itself is kind of by default a political act.
Right. And that's kind of what I meant of being like resentful that my being is already political. So I didn't want to have to be political in my work. But I feel like that was a cop-out. I think I just wasn't really ready to face the world in that way. And as somebody who's trying to make it, like, you're like, oh no, I can't ruffle the wrong feathers. Well, and I think one of the biggest gifts that I've given myself recently is not caring if I make it or not. Like there's more important things, and like, yeah, maybe I won't be able to make money at music forever, but I'll be able to sleep at night if I'm moving through the world in a way that I believe in. And I think like, probably the reason why the most, popular artists of today are saying so little is how they became the biggest artists. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a coincidence. These people become the biggest because they're willing to do whatever business comes around. So yeah, I wish they would use their platform a little bit more productively. But
let's break this down a little bit. When you say trying to make it, I mean, on a very basic level, what you're saying is just making a living, making your music. Is that what you mean? Is it deeper than that?
Oh no, I think the biggest thing is being financially stable. I wanted to be financially stable with my work, which is something I've never attained to this day. It's not smooth sailing over here. But I'm ready to like come to terms with the fact that there's other types of ways to interact with a money-making career outside of music that might go, coincide better with my values. And in music right now, it's very hard to maintain any type of integrity with the systems that allow people to have success, have financial success, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, yeah, and obviously that's something that immediately changes. It's another thing that immediately changes once you have a kid. Like once there's like another human being that's like dependent on you, and it's one thing for you to eat ramen for lunch every meal. It's another thing to have like another human depending on you for these things.
Yeah. Do you have kids?
I don't. I have rabbits, which close.
I had a rabbit. I had to rehome my rabbit because I was really allergic to it.
Yeah, I'm actually I was like dealing with that before. A little bit of that going on right now, but it's the seasons are changing, so there's some shedding going on right now. But obviously that's this is something that all artists deal with at some point. And it's a crossroads, like,
Mm-hmm.
having children. Toronto is not famously not a cheap city to live in. Um, I mean, that kind of changes the math right away.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's much different than Los Angeles was, where I was living before.
Sure, but those are
Yeah, they're
two of the most expensive cities
exactly.
in North America. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it's not that much
Um,
different than the other most expensive city. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, for real. So, I mean, that is something that I think about all the time still. Is like, where can I move that this would be a little bit more reasonable? But then you're cutting off certain opportunities that could be, So I don't know. You never really know with this stuff. Is it worth it or not? I don't know. But definitely the finances weigh into it. I think I feel like I've had kind of the opposite reaction that you would expect somebody to have. I think, well, initially I was like, I've just got to make money. I've got a kid. Oh no, give me, all the things that I can make money at. I need to, but then I realized that like the money part of it is actually not as important to me as like the long-term safety part of it. So like putting the we'll scrounge and we'll make it through on the money front. Like killing your capitalist dreams of just needing money is like, I feel like the first step, and then it's like, all right, now what's beyond that? And it's community, right? It's like making sure that your community is set up, not just you, because your safety depends on the safety of the community. Yeah.
So what does that mean? What does it mean to make sure your community is set up?
Yeah. I mean, that's something that I'm just really starting to dip my toe in. I've been planning how to work with this community center around here, and design programming and all that kind of stuff. And it also, I think it looks like making sure that I'm doing the things that I want to see other people doing. And for me, that's right now moving off of these streaming platforms that are in bed with a lot of bad actors. And yeah, it's the beginning of this journey for me. But right now, I'm trying to work with this community center and design some programming.
It sounds like you're talking about. I mean, you're talking about like the local, the physical, the
Yeah,
community around you, but also the musical community.
yeah, yeah, and all of the like Venn diagrams of every community I'm part of. It's just the beginning of this journey for me. The first steps were like slaying my capitalist dreams. Like I'm not going to be on Colbert now because Colbert got canceled. I'm not going to be on,
He's got a new thing, right? I
does he
mean,
have a new thing?
he's fine. I think so.
I
Yeah, of
don't know.
course he does.
But for a while, like that
But
was one of my goals. I was like, oh yeah, I want to be there. I want to do that thing. And now I'm just like rescaling my dreams so that they align with what I think my community best needs, if that makes sense. And I don't think it's that. They don't need me to do that.
this was something, I mean, something that I started to. 'Cause I was in Queens for the last 20 years, and then a year ago, last month, I moved up. I'm in the Hudson Valley now, so I'm like about 2 hours north of the city. And when I was in the city, like I started volunteering at a food pantry, and it was like the most rewarding thing that I've ever done. And I started I started doing it up here. It's very different up here, obviously, like in terms of the people that you interact with. Queens, like very. I mean, I can't imagine. I can't imagine what's happening down there right now, in terms of like dealing with immigrant communities down there. But sort of, but very rewarding. Like kind of getting to know people that like you. People that I like wouldn't necessarily like cross paths with, and that I wouldn't interact with them, and like having like genuine interactions with people. So that's something, and you have this sort of added bonus of music. You have this conduit, this thing that you can use to, I don't know, to bring people together. I don't know if it's performance or what you envision it being. I mean, I guess we're kind of speaking very abstractly around some ideas here.
Yeah, I've always had performance as like it's been like a necessary evil with my work.
Yeah.
Like I've never really liked it because I consider myself more of like a writer and like a studio person. I like to produce and be in the studio. Like that's the part that I really like. And then going out and performing has been really hard because I'm an introvert and because there's never been like enough funding there and like all those things, right? But I think what I've been discovering within this conversation is that that part can be really, really helpful. And like I'm in this position now where I'm trying to figure out how to make performance part of my more daily life and not just like things I do when I go out on tour, but it's like built into like the ecosystem of my current community and life in a tangible way. So I'm still trying to imagine what that means. But I honestly think it's going to be a lot of very humble performances. Yeah.
Yeah, humble. I mean, yeah, I think we could use a little more humbleness right now. And I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, like, you know, and this has been talked to death, but just so much of what is going on right now. This is pre-pandemic, but the pandemic obviously accelerated. But so much of what's going on right now is a product of isolation and just people just
Hmm.
forgetting how to like interact with other people. Like this is something, right? But it's not quite being there in person. So yeah, I mean, finding ways to do something in person. I mean, what would a humble performance look like for you?
Just like free in the park all the time.
Oh, like busking.
Like busking. Yes, exactly. Like busking.
Have you ever done
Um,
that before?
yeah, but like when I was a teenager, like not for a long time. I think I'd been like, you know, I don't know. I wanted to create some scarcity for myself or something, and I haven't done it for a long time. But I'm kind of craving that now.
I heard you mention this in another interview that you don't enjoy the act of performing, and
Mm.
like that in and of itself seems to be a big roadblock as far as your ability to like not only like do this for a living, but also to kind of to get yourself out there and to promote yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really working on enjoying it. I've been like practicing and like taking different types of performance classes to try and loosen myself up to it. I mean, I'm just very, very introverted, so it's like I'm the middle child of seven, so it's just like it wasn't. It's very hard for me to like feel like, oh, it's my time to take up space. I'm just like, nope, you know. um, so I'm really working on that. But the more I work on it, the more I enjoy it, and it's become kind of like a therapy for me of like trying to work on like peeling back some of my hard shell and like letting myself out a little bit more at a time. And I'm just like looking down the line and seeing a future for myself where I do feel free in that performance space. But it's just like, it's a longer process for me than I think it is for the average person. Um, yeah.
You're from a family of seven, but like a lot of them are performers, right?
No, I
Uh,
have the half sister who
yeah, and
and
your
my
dad's
dad was a
yeah.
singer, but he wasn't singing professional. I mean, he is a professional singer. He's better than most professional opera singers. He was. However, there wasn't a lot of place for a black opera singer to perform. So
Fair.
he was really like he would, you know, go to certain churches and sing sometimes, and like that was it. He didn't have like stage time, on any place where he was being paid for his expertise or anything. So kind of, yes, my dad was a really good vocalist. I have an estranged half sister who I I feel some type of way about. But that's it. I'm not from like a big performance household. Definitely like we played music, but we're all just a bunch of weirdos. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's funny though, because like, in terms of like introversion, like busking is like the most, I mean, that's the rawest thing you can do,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So you're really like forcing yourself out there.
You know, I set goals for myself.
Yeah.
I work at them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it must, it must be helpful too, though. I mean, in terms of just actively like also just forcing yourself to play music every day.
Yeah. You know what the most messed up part of this job is how little music I make. Like how little
Yeah.
time I get to actually spend making music. It's so much just like administrative stuff and you got to creative direct this and now I'm have to write a bio for this and it's like
Mhm.
so much time doing anything but music for a career in music. It's so crazy. So I think that's really what I am looking forward to is kind of returning to before music was the thing that I made a living at and I was just doing it for me and I was just like in there writing every day and performing for myself every day. I really missed that relationship I had. Um there's almost like this maybe I'm romanticizing it a bit, but I'm like, okay, if I'm not going to make money at this anymore, maybe it will start to feel good again.
I think what you're running into is probably something a lot of people have run into before, where they're like, the music industry is obviously evil. And it's like, well, I want to work outside the music industry, and then at a certain point you realize, oh, in order to work outside the music industry, I have to start doing everything myself. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, there's a reason why like there all these things kind of like got into place. But I assume that there are still like, well, I shouldn't say that because this is kind of like, I don't know, maybe the music industry kind of is like paralleling the American middle class in that
Mm,
there just there isn't really a middle class in music making anymore, right?
I
There's
think
the,
that's a
the
really
top,
fair
top, upper
comparison.
threshold. Yeah. Those people like even like as recently as, the 2000s, we had like indie rock bands and we had like backpack rappers and we had people who could actually like make a living being at that level. And that just, I don't know, that doesn't seem to really exist that much anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I think that that was a perfect point.
I mean, I heard you discussing like film scoring. I mean, that you are exploring other, uh, I guess, adjacent avenues in that world.
Mm. What interview was this? Like, when was this?
I don't know. It just
Okay.
I should have citations, but I know
No,
that
no,
that
that's
this
fine.
came up at some point.
Yeah, I would absolutely score a film. I've only scored like little, shorts and things like that, but I would absolutely score a film. However, the experience that I've had scoring the little things that I've scored now has given me a different taste for it. So I'm like, I it's not even that like I think my way is the perfect way, but I've been so spoiled and that I get to make the music that I wanna make. The label can't really say much about it. Like, they're just like, "Okay, this is the album you're putting out? Okay." Like, and so then when you start working with a director or a music supervisor or whoever it is, and they've got notes, I'm like, "I don't know." And I it's not even that I think my way is the best way, it's just that, like, at a certain point, it's like once I've given what I have for something, and then you want me to change it, and, like, I've moved on, like, in my heart, I've moved on, I'm doing this other thing now, like, I don't wanna go and rehash this song, you know what I mean? Um, yeah, it's the ADHD for sure, but,
I find that so deeply relatable that like I as this has gotten me in trouble a lot as a,
Mm,
but what I'll say, and I don't know if like, and I don't even know if you can do this in music in the same way. What I'll say as a writer, like somebody will send me like edits and I'll be like, all right, well, just make them. And I just don't.
Yeah, right.
Like, I'm like, fine. I don't care. Like, do all the
Yeah.
changes you want to make to it. I just don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah. It's like I've gotten this out. I've expressed what I wanted to say, and now I have a different thing on my mind that I need to get to. Yeah. But someday, I hope somebody comes knocking, but I hope it's also like a very cool indie project that I don't feel some type of way about their, business holdings.
Yeah, good luck with that. But you did.
Yeah.
But you went to film school.
I did. I did my undergrad in film production at USC, and then I just finished a master's in music tech.
So USC. So like you were not like a super serious film school or anything. Just
Ugh, I hate that it was such a serious film school. It killed it. It's just, don't go to school for art. That's my message of today. It just kills all of your inspiration.
listen. Let's talk about that, because I was a creative writing major, so I can happily talk to you. I went to UC Santa Cruz as a creative writing major.
Oh, nice. I started at UC Santa Cruz and I dropped out after a quarter because
that
I wasn't.
happens.
Yeah, I was not
an
ready.
Uncommon experience.
Yeah, I was like, okay, it was right after high school, and I was supposed to go somewhere. I was supposed to go to UC Davis on like a full track scholarship, but then I tore my Achilles. So then they were like, well, you don't have to go here if you don't want to, because you can't run track anymore. So
they're like, how about this school without any sports?
Exactly. So they sent me over there. Yeah. I did a quarter. I was so depressed because I didn't know what I wanted to do other than run. So I dropped it.
Yeah.
And then later went to USC.
Well, okay. So we just opened up like a whole new interesting, that's an interesting avenue for me. Like, so were you were serious about being an athlete at that point?
I was dead set on it. Yeah. There was no plan B. I was like, I'm going to the Olympics. I'm going to do this. I was a distance runner. And and then I tore both of my Achilles, actually, one more than the other. And this was 20 years ago. Like, sports medicine wasn't there where it is now. It was like, that was a career-ending thing, When
I was a kid, I remember my father tore his Achilles, and that was like, like it's like plastic bag on the leg while you're taking a shower. Like, that is.
He had a surgery and everything.
Oh yeah. Okay, it was like a whole thing. Yeah. But even, I mean, like, that is like an extremely debilitating situation. You did both of them. So it's like, it's not like, hey, let's put her on the IL for a little bit. It's like, all right, well, that's it. This is kind of done, right? I mean,
yeah. And they did the right thing, because I've torn like every single thing else since then. So they did the right thing. Anyway, that's not what we were getting into.
I think it's interesting because like that, so, like, not that there is an obvious, this is something that, like, obviously, I don't know, probably as difficult as it is to make a living being a musician, I have to assume that professional athlete is probably even like lower on the list, right? I mean, and those are like, those are depressing stories too, right? I mean, those are right. I mean, especially the ones who get like really, really close, like those end pretty, and they don't, and unlike musicians, musicians and other like creative fields, like, you can have plan Bs, right? Like, there are other like things that you sort of do that are tangentially related. There are other fields, but how ultimately, like, how did you get from being depressed in the redwoods to USC film school?
That's a good question. I mean, I always, was a creative kid, and it was either like, writing stories in my room, or I was playing music, or, or I was out running track. And at the time, this is going to sound so corny, but it's just true. I was really frustrated with Um, and I felt that Spike Lee was only talking to people who agreed with him in his movies. And I felt like I wanted to try and take another approach to it where I was talking to people who wouldn't agree with me. And so I kind of made that my mission at the time of like, how can I write stories and tell stories to people who don't want to hear from me? and get in there and infiltrate from the back door, infiltrate their way of thinking so that they can to open their mind.
Not preach to the choir.
Yes, I just didn't want to preach to the choir. I wanted to I don't know. But so that was kind of where I was at the time. And so that's why going to USC was probably the worst possible choice for me. Because they're not about that life there. They're just like, are you going to be another Michael Bay or not? And if not, you can kick rocks.
They've definitely produced some of the most earnest filmmakers that, right? I mean, like your Spielbergs and your very, yeah. What was so like at that point, what would the latest Spike Lee movie have been?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I remember when I was in school, I think this was actually, it wasn't even a film class, it was a literature class, but I had a professor who like really wanted to show us Bamboozled.
Oh yeah, that's a hard one to get into, I think. If that's your first one, that's tough.
No, I mean, it wasn't my first one. It wasn't my first one, but it's definitely, I think, probably kind of what you're talking about, that it's like one of those movies that's for the kind of person that is going to go see one of those movies.
Yeah.
It's not going to, you're not going to randomly like get somebody off the street, like, and it's not going to have a high, box office. Because Spike Lee, like after that, like Spike Lee, like did a bunch of like, he did the Summer of Sam movies and he did like a bunch of just like kind of mainstream films after that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, and I even think like Do the Right Thing was one that did go the backdoor route. I don't think that one was like a hit you over the head one until it does. But yeah, I wasn't necessarily watching them in order either. I was just kind of like, going to the video store, picking them up back in the day. Yeah.
So your thing was like, all right, I could not even out Spike Lee, but like
I was gonna like under Spike Lee. I was gonna
under Spike Lee.
No, I was trying to slide.
I like that.
Be sly. I wanted to be sly about it.
I think, and I don't know how far. Like, how far did you get in film school?
How far did I get? You mean, what do you mean? I graduated.
Did you graduate? You graduated.
I did.
Okay, you made it. You made it the whole way. I'm mentioning this because I don't know why this has like been my like latest like neurodivergent special interest lately.
Oh yeah, let's go.
That I just like for some reason I just read I have no interest in writing a screenplay, but I just read like 3 or 4 books on screenwriting.
Ooh, I'm there with you. I write too. I try and screenwrite in my spare time.
Oh no, I'm not gonna screenwrite.
Oh, okay. Okay, you just like to read about it.
Well, I like this is why this is my like weird special interest neurodivergent thing. I was trying to explain this to my therapist last night because I was trying to figure out why I was reading these books if I had no intention of writing a screenplay. And here's what I realized. I realized there's like no other really, I couldn't think of another artistic medium that is so strictly structured as film. 3-act structure, like these beats. It's one of those things where you're like, all right, well, I'm going to be a creative person and I'm going to, but then at the same time, you're like, well, if like Scorsese is sticking to this, then maybe there's probably something about like, maybe, maybe it works, right?
I think it works if you want to make a lot of money at it,
Yeah.
Like I think films didn't used to be so structured There used to be like way more variety in the types of ways you could tell stories. And now it's like
Sure.
you go to a movie theater and you know how it's going to end within 10 minutes of the movie, right? Like you can see it all like, oh, okay, like, well, at least if you've been reading these screenwriting books,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I know everybody's arc. I know that like they're going to set up this surprise, but then it's really just a
Sure.
red herring for this thing. And like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
so boring. It's become so
Yeah.
boring. And I think it can be helpful to like, learn some of the rules as long as you're willing to forget them as well.
Kind of what I'm getting at the same time that I think was so interesting to me. I guess that like at this point in my life that I'm kind of trying to work with, and I don't know if this is something that you can relate to at all, is like, well, what would it be like to try to write and to make art with more constraints and with more parameters? And because it is fascinating when somebody does make a really great thing, because there are some like really great movies that adhere to that structure.
Totally.
And what is it about them that makes them so much better than the bad movies that do?
Yeah, I have no idea. I want to try and relate it to songwriting a little bit, in that I think, like for myself, when I'm writing a song, I always create some kind of a container. Like these, I create a palette of limitations to start, and then what happens within there feels like safe and exciting at the same time. You know what I mean? If you have like the whole world of options at every turn, like it can become overwhelming and you're like, I don't know which way to take this now. No. So there's like usually like some amount of limitations I work with, even if it's like, I'm gonna only use this type of chord. I'm only gonna use these instruments. I'm only gonna use whatever it is. Like I'll set some types of rules for myself. But I think it would be really boring if I was only using the rules that other people told me to
Sure.
use.
Sure. No, that's right. Because I when I was like last night when I was thinking about it, the one parallel that I could come up with was the pop song, right? Like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, right? But I like that palette of limitations. Did you coin that? I don't know if I've heard that like exactly.
Maybe I did. I don't know.
I guess that's great, but maybe I mean, and maybe that's something that like. Maybe that's something that busking kind of forces on you, because you can't like go out there with you can't go out there with a very large palette.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, something so appealing to me about different types of minimalism. And I feel like whenever I'm stuck in some part of my career, whether it's like songwriting or even the direction of it, finding a minimalist path usually like reinvigorates me in some way. You know what I mean? Yeah, and just getting back to like just what it is, storytelling. It's just like me and a guitar and storytelling. And like, I just finished this degree in music tech stuff, and like that stuff is so fun, and I love it. I love going down rabbit holes of textures and all these kinds of things. But also like, I want to be able to just organically connect to people in a room, you know?
I do. One of the things when I moved up here, like the town that I'm in now is really small. It's like 1,000 people, which, again, like moving from Astoria, Queens. And a few weeks ago, I saw a band that I liked, and he was playing in a room of like 40 people. And I was like, oh, this is what I was missing. This is what I was getting in Santa Cruz when we used to put on house shows. And I'm thinking about this too in the context of me, of doing volunteer work, and I can't really talk about it on the podcast. I'm happy to talk to you about it later, but I'm doing some stuff related to immigration here in the States. And it's sort of like, it's occurring to me that it's like, okay, well, we're getting all of the kind of the bad shit that we heard about historically, but like, when do we get the good stuff? When do we get all like the good kind of communal stuff that we heard about, and like what can we do to really set that in motion?
Yeah. And I think what you were talking about earlier with the like hyper isolation of the pandemic and, internet addiction and all that stuff, I think there's a natural resistance to that. That's kind of percolating now, where people are like, oh yeah, there's a reason why we lived in communities, and like there's a reason why we did that for thousands of years before, like the last 100 years that we've all been isolated in these little homes. And yeah, I think there's something there to be explored for probably a lot of people, just getting off of our toxic phones.